So we'll have a short discussion because we're preparing for our Seders for Pesach, and I'm sure we have work to do still. Um, I just, I just want to say about um, listening to what he said about the sacrifices. And, it says that there was no offering for um, for sin that was committed willingly on purpose, but it didn't mean that we weren't be forgiven when we would go to God, ask for forgiveness. Uh, he wants a humble heart, a contrite heart, a broken spirit. And when we really feel that, when we really have that sense within us, then God knows our heart. He understands our intention. He understands and he forgives us. It doesn't mean that we don't have to accept the consequences for what we did. We are all responsible for the things that we do. We make a lot of mistakes in our lives, and but God is always there to forgive us when he knows that we truly want to be forgiven. So, um, we're living in a world filled with immorality right now. There are those who are fighting to do the right thing, and the battle is fierce, and not only between us, but in countries, in families, everywhere we turn, we can see that. People are saying you just need to love. It's all about love, love each other, gushy gushy love. And Rabbi was so funny. I kill you, but I'm killing you in love. He's got a great sense of humor. Anyway, that is the whole message. And God doesn't sit there as our judge. We think that he's there with the finger up in heaven waiting for us to do the wrong thing, and then he comes down on us. We are our own worst judges. We are the one who are so hard on us. He's the one who's always waiting. He says, "Come to me. That's all I want. I want your heart. Come to me and I will forgive you." So, and that's a wonderful message before Pesach, because that truly is what Pesach is all about. When we think of the leaven, the yeast of the Pharisees, the yeast of the Pharaoh, that pride that was in his heart that destroyed himself, his kingdom, his family, his son. Everything was destroyed because of pride. And we have to stop being so proud and saying there's no way I'm going to change my heart. No way I'm going to change my mind. I will never surrender. Let me tell you, when we say that, God makes us surrender. So to me, that was a beautiful message from the rabbi, and I'm so glad to hear it all over again. Yes,
Yeah,
Miriam.
I agree with everything you said. It's a really a very special message. Um, the idea of God needing blood, it's so pagan,
Right.
you know, and really, anyways, very good message, very clear. Just one thing I always thought, I when God uh, when they came out of Egypt, the Israelites came out of Israel, out of Egypt, and God, I believe, in response to that, because they were seeing pagan sacrifices, he created something that they knew already, and he couldn't pull them out of it right away. And these sacrifices were done in a way that were very different from the pagan sacrifices, to show them who God really is and what he requires. So if it weren't for the disobedience of Israel, I don't believe there'd be any sacrifices. When God came, people say in the Garden of Eden, God made a coat, he killed an animal so that whatever, and some Christians use that as the beginning of sacrifice. But I don't believe that had anything to do with sacrifice, in the Garden of Eden. Anyway, my point is this:
It
I
had to
don't
do
believe.
with their disobedience.
Yeah, but it had
Yeah.
not. Well,
Well, that was to me, that was the first offering of an animal, and God was setting up the precedent there. He said, when you're disobedient, he gave them the opportunity to turn to him. He kept asking, "Where are you?" You know,
Yeah, but they didn't offer animals. It's
no,
sac
he did. That was the
right, but
first.
what do it had to do with obedience?
It
Uh,
had to, if because they were disobedient, that first animal died. That it's like it was the death of innocence. He was saying that animals are not, they don't have the will to kill on purpose. They just kill by instinct. Animals are innocent. It was a picture of the death of our innocence.
yeah, that's what I agree with that. But
Yeah,
yeah, okay. And this what also the sacrifices were voluntary. So
exactly.
not every Israelite or family necessarily offered. Somebody
No.
may have said,
Yeah, just those whose hearts were willing. And we don't know how many were. It never said. Remember, there was only one altar. They so it couldn't have had everybody coming at the same time. I mean, even at the time of Noah, how many people, and during the whole time he was building the ark, how many people came and said, "Oh, Noah, God is right. I want to come to him." You know,
right.
how many people left with Abram when he left? 70. It's always a remnant.
Right, and it really is free will. Just one last thing, just to be confirmed, because anyway, I'm not putting anyone on the spot. I'm not doing this, but you
Are you
heard
kidding? You do it all the time.
I know, but I'll do
I
it
love it. I love it. You don't scare
No,
me.
but the rabbi said, Rabbi
Yeah.
Percy said
Yeah.
specifically,
Yeah.
there was no sacrifice for intentional sin.
Exactly. There
But
wasn't
our
any.
last, well, Mauricio
No,
didn't.
those offerings had nothing to do with intentional sin. We had to come to
No,
him
no, but
with our
that's what
heart.
I said that last time with when
Yeah.
Marie, but he said no, there were no offering for intentional sin.
No,
The
there
idea
weren't.
we make it right, and you can go to
Yeah.
God, those offerings didn't cover everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, just to make it
I,
clear,
I
because
agree with
those are
you.
two different statements,
Yeah.
Mauricio and Rabbi Percy. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but just to clear it up, because I want to feel clear about that.
Yeah, well, maybe you want to contact him directly and have him clarify it, but he didn't, I don't think he
Yeah,
said
he
there was a
did. He did.
sacrifice.
Anyway, listen, if he were here, next time he's here, I guess he listens to Rabbi's messages.
Yeah, of course.
So anyway, okay. I just wanted to be clear for
Yeah,
myself.
from my understanding, although because what he quoted was from something later on, and it wasn't in the book of Leviticus. It was, I'd have to go back and look at it, but intentional sin can only be forgiven when you go to God with a broken heart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But there was the Olah, the burnt offering, the Asham, the Shalamim. There were five different types of offering.
Right,
I
right.
put it all in the
And
message.
the point is God
Yeah.
forgives them,
He
and
does forgive
and
when
it's really
when our
important.
hearts look, you told us a story yourself about this man who was in prison. He was a murderer,
Yeah,
and yet he had an
a
experience
paid
with
assassin.
a paid assassin, and he had an experience with God, and he knew he was forgiven.
Oh yeah.
He still was in jail. He still was going to die.
No,
He
and he
still had
knew
to
he,
pay the
he knew
price.
he deserved to be in jail or even
Yeah.
killed, but I never saw such joy, you know,
Yeah, it's amazing. You know,
filled with tattoos, few like a real like you'd see like a rabbi on the street, but he
yeah,
came and spoke at the church, and
yeah,
in his own just simple, he was radiant,
yeah.
Like
It's
amazing.
it's amazing.
Huh?
Hell's Angel with the tattoos.
Well,
Like, yeah,
he was he's not somebody on the street you'd invite to supper.
yeah. But the whole thing over and over and over again is we are responsible. We're responsible for what we do, for what we say, our behavior. And even though we've made mistakes in the past, and there isn't one of us here who hasn't made mistakes or who continues to make mistakes, we do every single day. But when we go to the person, when we go to God and we say, "Look, I did this wrong. I did. I'm really, my heart is broken over it. Please forgive me." He does. Sometimes there are things that the Torah is very clear about making restitution. If you stole something, you pay it back with interest, with extra. If you hurt somebody, you go to that person, you make it right. We have to learn how to do that. No matter what we've done in the past, don't live in the past. And even if you've done the same thing over and over, there's always opportunity to start again. That's the beauty of the God of our people. He gives us the opportunity to begin again. And that's what gives us hope. And that's why we can have joy. That's why we can go into this Pesach right now and know that that offering at Passover, that lamb, was a one-time offering. We don't have to keep redoing that over and over again. But
Sorry, which lamb?
the
Sorry.
lamb that died when we put the blood on the doorpost and the
Oh,
firstborn,
right.
yeah, that lamb at Pesach, that was the only time that that lamb was offered. We don't have to do that all the time. You don't have to relive that.
And the lamb itself didn't, see, that's such a thing that's taken by Christianity to make it look like Jesus is the
The Lamb
Lamb
of
of
God who
God.
takes away the sin of the world. No, because it had nothing to do with sin. It had to do with obedience.
Right,
God said, whoever will take the lamb, whether they were Egyptian or Israelite or Ger, who lived with us, whoever took the blood of the lamb, put it on the doorpost, were in the house. They didn't have to ask, "Oh, please forgive us for our sin." It had nothing to do with sin.
right.
It had to do with obedience.
Right.
God tells us to do something, He has a reason. We may not always understand why. If we
Right.
were raised with this, it would be different. You understand. Yeah, over time you start to see, oh yeah, that's why God said that. And you see that people who've grown up with the Torah, grown up with God's principles, His 10 Commandments, they live a different life. And I haven't met many in my life, to tell you the truth.
No, me neither, whether
No,
Jew or Gentile.
anybody, because it's a remnant. How many of us really have our eyes open? How many of us really understand, yeah, I have a responsibility? And most of us who have been through hell in our lives. We've been really broken. And we understand. Look, Moses went through 80 years before he was brought to Egypt. The 40 he was trained in the ways of the pagans, and the next 40 he was trained on how to be in the desert with us. He was I don't know everything that he went through, but who God knew who he was and what he would have to do and gave him all the training. The same with you and I. We've had the training in our lives to do what we're doing now. Now it's about obedience and about turning faith, emunah, Rabbi spoke about that, into bitachon. Bitachon is trust. It's not enough to just have faith in God. It's like Rabbi said, everybody you ask here in this community will say, "Do you believe in God?" Well, I'll say, "Yeah." But how many of us really trust Him when something bad happens and we go into fear, we don't know how to deal with that? Are we really calm and saying, "Oh, you got this covered, Lord. I know you have this in your hand." Let's see. Mugalia, Moshe is saying Proverbs 8:13, Proverbs 11, verse 2 talks against pride. Jeremiah 9:23 speaks about boasting, and many other verses. Yes, it's all through the scriptures. God is not looking for a proud people. He wants a humbled people. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit, Yeshua said, for we shall receive the kingdom, we shall obtain the kingdom of God. Those are the ones who really see God working in our lives. I mean, I see that every day. When I pray for wisdom, which I've been doing, because one of the things wisdom takes is time and experience. You're not born with wisdom. Wisdom comes after many years of experience. And when I pray for experience, all of a sudden something will happen which makes me stop and think, okay, how am I going to handle this? And I'll speak to somebody, or God will give me an idea. I'll understand how to do something. And little by little, I grow wiser until the last day of my life. We continue to grow. We are either going to grow wiser or we're going to grow more stupid, more foolish. It's our choice. We need to listen to that still small voice within our hearts, within our souls. So, does anybody else have anything to say before we close our service today and get ready for a Pesach? Yes, Moshe.
Yeah, Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Hag
shalom.
Sameach.
Yeah, just like I've written in the body of the messages, uh, I only want to talk about pride. Indeed, like Mommy said, it's not always good to be so boastful and so proud of something that may be of done for others or something which is around you. You know, God is against that. It is always very nice and good when we are just obedient and then we keep ourselves patient. We wait for what next.
Yes.
Uh, so I have nothing much to say. Just like you said, you're going in for Pesach. I wish you a fantastic Pesach. May the Lord bless all of you. Shabbat Shalom.
And the same for you, Moshe, in your Seder tonight. I guess you're having one in your community.
Exactly.
Good. Well, you will all enjoy, and please send our good wishes from Canada to you. Tell everybody we wish you a Chag Sameach, and may God cleanse our hearts and our soul, and may we live for Him. So I want to wish
Thank
everybody.
you very much.
You're welcome. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Chag Sameach.
Hag
Shabbat
sameach.
Shalom.
God
Shabbat
bless you
shalom.
all. Chag Sameach.
Sameach.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.